This was my morning routine back as a plastic surgery resident and also as a medical student on certain rotations. First, waking up. I usually woke up around 4 a.m. plus or minus 30 minutes, sometimes 3:30, sometimes 4:30, sometimes a little bit later, depends on the rotation. And in my bedroom, I had Philips Hue lights that I would program to simulate sunrise. So if I needed to wake up at 4 a.m., 30 minutes before, starting at 3:30 a.m., they would slowly turn on and increase in brightness. That simulates sunrise, and it's a much less jolting way to wake up. At the scheduled time, so 4 a.m., my phone would go off, and this would just be the standard iPhone alarm. But if I was really sleep deprived, which would sometimes happen, especially after call nights or just really long weeks where you don't really have a day off, then I would use this other app called Spin Alarm Clock, where you actually have to get up and spin in circles. And that was just to make sure I didn't snooze and sleep through the alarm. Next, going to the bathroom, have a strong orthocollic reflex, so I would always drop off the kids, if you know what I mean, and I would use my phone during that time. And this is also the time when I was running 2 other companies while doing plastic surgery residency, Med School Insiders and Bluelink, so I was cranking through emails first thing in the morning, handling that stuff. That would be about 10 minutes, using of course my squatty potty and bidet, 2 investments that are definitely worth it. And then of course I would brush my teeth, wash my face, put in my contacts, all that stuff. And then immediately after, very important timing wise, that I would weigh myself at this point. If you want to weigh yourself, you need to do it consistently, because if you weigh yourself at different times during the day, you get wild fluctuations. So at this point, you have used the bathroom, you have emptied your bowels and your bladder, and you have not drank or eaten anything, and I would usually weigh myself completely naked, but don't worry, I'm going to spare you guys that visual. Next, my stretching routine. First, I would roll on my back on a trigger point foam roller, then use a lacrosse ball, cross my leg, and roll on my piriformis and glutes. Then I would lay on my back and then stretch out each hamstring one at a time, then get up and do a hip flexor stretch. Then I would do cat camel, then upward dog or cobra to child's pose, then frog to stretch out the groin, followed by a deep squat to open up the hips a little bit more. And then finally, I would roll out, again using that same lacrosse ball, my pecs, and then stretch my pec major and pec minor. Now doing this routine every single day was super important to me because, first of all, it reduced aches and pains throughout the day and helped me stand with better posture. And if you are standing in the operating room for most of the day, then standing with good posture is paramount. Right after stretching, I would go straight to meditation. I use Insight Timer on my phone because it's free and there's a lot of variety. And I would choose any meditation, 5 to 10 minutes. I had a few that I favorited. And usually I would do guided meditation. Very occasionally I would do a silent meditation, but I feel like that's a little bit more advanced. So I was mostly doing the guided meditations. And I actually laid on my back. And the reason being is if I were to sit cross-legged, I was even more inflexible back then than I am now. And I would start, like, my legs would fall asleep or I'd be very uncomfortable. So I would lay on my back. I wasn't worried about falling asleep again because I was very much awake at that point. After meditating, I would of course get dressed. So that means putting on scrubs, getting my pager on, putting on my badge with of course a high quality reel that you can get from Amazon, putting on my stethoscope holder, but not my stethoscope, and also grabbing my backpack. The backpack was always packed the night before, and it had my stethoscope, my white coat, and my iPad. I actually have another video back from when I was in plastic surgery residency going over what I carry in my backpack, so I recommend you watch that if you want the details there. Next, going to the kitchen, breakfast time. Now in a surgical residency, actually in any residency, it's very challenging to eat and get enough calories because you're so busy. Even more so in surgical residency because in the operating room, you're not allowed to have food, obviously. And at a computer, you can kind of munch and snack a little bit. But if you are in the operating room for several hours, you cannot eat at all during that time. So for that reason, my priority was packing in as many calories as possible. It's easier to get calories in through liquid rather than food. You won't feel full as quickly. So I did this monster protein shake, or meal replacement shake rather, that would have sometimes even over 1,000 calories. So the ingredients are pretty simple. It just comes down to the proportion of each ingredient you want to put in. So I always put in a banana, some protein powder. I usually used True Nutrition. I enjoyed their plant-based protein powders. Cocoa powder for flavor, high quality peanut butter for good healthy fats, or avocado, one or the other, fresh spinach, flaxseed, frozen blueberries or frozen strawberries or frozen mangoes or whatever I was in the mood for that morning. And then of course, almond milk or flax milk. Now again, efficiency was the name of the game. So I would be drinking this and it would fill up 2 large containers usually. And while I was drinking this, I was either journaling. So I have a template on my phone using the Day One journaling app. I would do that every morning. It auto-populates a template and also has a reminder for me. Or I would be cleaning up the kitchen, cleaning up the blender, because you definitely don't want to clean it up later in the day when you come back from work. That's the last thing you want to do. Next, I would grab my bike lights, both front and rear, and these are rechargeable, high quality lights. Definitely do not skimp on your lights because
It's very important for safety reasons. And I would charge them overnight always, because you ride in the morning at 5 a.m., pitch black, and then you come back at night, 8 p.m., also pitch black. So visibility is very important. And then I'll grab my bike, go out, and start my day. Now, it was important to me to cycle to and from work because I was so busy. Again, this is the one period in my life when I was the most busy and just optimizing every single minute, every single day. Like Anki cards, when I was waiting in line in the grocery store or at the restaurant, everything was so optimized. And going to and from work was part of that because I did not have time to do cardio anywhere else. I would have some time to do strength training 3 or 4 times a week, but by cycling to and from work, I was able to get in my cardio and my commute, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyway, that is it for my morning routine as a plastic surgery resident. Next week, I'll be making a video about my current routine as an entrepreneur.